G'day everyone, Brian from Redcliffe Land and Bay Fishing. Today we're going to have a chat about some spots that I fish around the peninsula, Clontarf in particular. So the southern side of the peninsula, we'll have a chat about, we'll have a look at some maps and have a chat about the land-based spots I fish at Hayes Inlet, some of the shallow reefs around Clontarf, up to Woody Point and around to Scott's Point. So basically we'll cover the maps on the southern half of the peninsula. This is the southern side of the peninsula. You're looking at those two bright yellow lines. That's the bridge entering Clontarf from Brighton. The red lines that I've added, the arrows, are of particular interest to me. The longer bottom arrow, the one pointing west, that's pointing to a little channel that runs from Hayes Inlet up into the creek system that is in the wetlands at the top of Hayes Inlet. The mouth of that creek opposite there at low tide, so you've got about probably a window of about 5 hours at low tide, 5.5 hours, where you've got the bottom half to the run out, and then you've got the run in up till about 2 hours into the run in. You can fish opposite the mouth there, and you'll find that a lot of flathead and bream congregate in that area. So if you're using bait, I like strips of mullet. I like little half pillies, or I call them baby pillies, on gang hooks. Pretty much pick your favourite bait and the bream are going to eat it. With the pillies, you've got a big chance of picking up a flathead or two. Flathead seem to love the little baby pillies, and you basically just soak them and wait. If you're a little bit more proactive and you're more mobile, you can walk that shoreline and just keep casting and dragging your pilly back through it. You stand a lot less chance of catching your bream because your bait's always moving, and the bream seem to prefer, when you're bait fishing, a still bait rather than a bait that's moving. You will still catch bream, just not as many, but you'll certainly increase your chances of picking up a flatty or two. I've picked up some substantial flatty out of this area. My best in this area is about 68 centimetres. I know some people have caught some much bigger ones in this area. This is a satellite view of the same area at low tide. You can see the channels running through there. You can see the sand. That hard sand is quite hard. You won't need your mud boots or anything. It's very easy to walk on bare feet. Not a lot of sharp bits. However, I would suggest if you've got kids to put some reef shoes on them just to be safe. You enter that area through the street called Haysmouth Parade, and you can park down the cul-de-sac in there and walk out onto those sand flats at low tide. Okay, we've covered Hayes Inlet. We'll move down to the shallow reef just to the eastern side of the bridge there. I like fishing that area, particularly in the winter time. The bigger bream move in there. It's a better area for the higher tide, so when you can't walk out onto those sand flats in the higher tide, you've got a spot. It's also a good spot when it's raining. You can get under some shelter underneath the bridge. Again, it's a good place to soak baits. It's also a good place to flick soft plastics and hard bodies. However, make sure you do a bit of exploring in that area with cheaper soft plastics first, because there are a lot of snags. Big bream get in there. You'll catch your 30 centimetre plus bream in there quite often. Quite often up to around that 38, 39. I've never pulled a 40 out of there yet, but you will get good bream out of that area. You still get flathead in that area, not as many flathead. It's a better bream spot than flathead spot, and works well for me. Again, when the weather's bad and you've got that northeasterly, northerly or northwesterly, excellent place to give it a shot. Moving around toward the Woody Point area, you'll see the little arrow there that points to the base of the jetty. At a high tide, or on the top half of the tide, probably not the whole half, so the last hour and the first hour of the run out, I fish just prior to the jetty. There's some really good rubble patches, and the bream come right up there, and they can only feed there for that 2 hours over high tide, and they spend a lot of time feeding there in that 2 hours, so you will find bream right on high tide off the jetty. Better spot than be fishing with everybody on the jetty. If you want a spot to go where you'll be on your own, that's the place to do it, and very, very top place for bream. Moving around to Scott's Point, we'll cover that in a little bit more detail later, but you'll see that top arrow there points to Scott's Point, and it is a sensational place to go fishing Scott's Point. but you can only do it on the bottom half of the tide. So the last two hours, the first 2 hours of the run-in. We'll talk more about that later. Okay, Scott's Point. You can see there that reefy rubble patch at low tide. You can walk right out there. You'll see a sign that says green zone, so you don't fish to the southern side of that. Fish to the northern side of that sign and you're in an area where you're allowed to be fishing. The rubble patches there, the bream will come right up to the rubble at your feet, so you don't have to cast very far out if you're fishing for bream. However, if you're fishing for snapper, you can cast at your feet. You can also cast out. You'll pick up the snapper everywhere there. A really good snapper spot. It's also good. It's not a spot to take small kids because it can be dangerous given that it's a rock wall and it's quite slippery. It is completely submerged at high tide, so it's slippery all the time. Make sure you wear appropriate footwear. Get some monster bream and you will pick up the odd good skyer out of that area. Okay guys, that's it for me today. If you've liked the video, got something out of it, don't forget to leave a comment, hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll catch you next time. Have a good one.